This is the Indian car market and this is the premium SUV segment. Ouch! Many manufacturers have actually burnt their hands when experimenting with their cars in this segment. That's because there's a big fish called Toyota Fortuner which is in very close proximity to this segment, and that's why, especially in countries like India where the sizes of cars matter a lot, it's not an easy game at all to make your car a successful one. And that's the reason Hyundai has decided that, hey, why don't we do one thing? Why don't we plonk in every feature possible in this particular car so that it's distinctive and it can pull people, it can grab people to their showrooms. This is the all-new Hyundai Tucson, which promises exhilarating performance while being feature loaded completely, not just in this segment, but features that cars in the segment above can just dream of. We are here in Nama Bengaluru to find out if the Tucson can make it to your next wish list. Hello and welcome back to Shutterdrives. Hyundai has been making polarizing design for quite some time, starting off with i20, Cretas and whatnot. These are the designs that's going to take some time for you to grow upon, and I think the Tucson also bags on similar lines. The design of the Tucson, especially in the front, is something that is going to take you some time to get adjusted to, but trust me, once you get used to this modern design, you're going to fall in love with it, because especially in such lighter colors where the grille is completely darked out, this makes it very distinctive and attractive. And if you look at the Tucson in other grey colors, I think the main attractions of this car are actually hidden and tucked inside, but these lighter colors and of course the darker red makes the car look amazingly good. So talking about the grille, one thing that we really appreciate here is Hyundai has not decided to use the chrome for the logo, and this continues to be camouflaged in this grille finish, which makes it look very nice and appealing. And then you have the 360-degree camera here, which also means that this car is loaded with some of the craziest features that you have ever heard of. And then moving slightly downwards, you have the front parking sensors. It's not that they are very mandatory for a car of this size, but then having such technology for your help is not bad at all. And then you have this front skid plates with this black garnish on them, in making the car look very striking. But what's nicer, or what's very unique in this car's front design, is this entire setup of the LED headlamps, LED DRLs, and of course the positioning lamps here. Hyundai has gone extra mile to ensure that not just the design, even the functioning of these headlights and DRLs are on par with other cars. If there's something to really appreciate, that's key. Hyundai has actually taken some extra measures to give you some of the best headlamp and DRL setup. You get LED headlamps, you get LED DRLs which are parametric, and of course you do get the positioning lamps in this car, making the entire setup look very nice and striking. Not just the looks, but even their functioning is going to be very good. Of course, we'll have to check them out sometime later at night. The design team at Hyundai has actually gone overboard and worked overtime to design the alloy wheels of this car, because this design is as busy as it can get. While 80 to 90% of the people might love the design, there'll be 10% people where the design might backfire, because it's actually slightly way more busier than it could have actually been for a premium segment SUV. That said, you get 4 disc brakes on all the 4 wheels of this car. So this is the 2-liter turbo diesel engine that produces 186 bhp and 416 Newton meters of torque for the Tucson. And another small important thing to note is you do not get hydraulic studs in a car costing more than 3 million rupees, which means that you'll have to do the old school way of closing and opening the bonnet using this. This is my favorite angle to view the all-new Tucson, because this car looks majestic and very plush from this angle. There's this request sensor here which is going to be very helpful in opening and closing the doors, and then this black dot treatment behind me is going to be very complementing this white color, especially here. Another thing that is very appealing and surprising in the Tucson is the distinctive design lines that you see here. Not sure when was the last car where I actually saw these striking lines And the same philosophy, the same design philosophy has been carried across the car. You can see a line coming here, then there's a line that's going southward this way. This is something that's very distinctive in this car, and that's the reason this is going to grab a lot of eyeballs, especially from the younger generation. My absolute favorite part in the Tucson's design in the rear is the connecting LED tail lamps, which are very, very nice and striking. Especially this part looks so damn premium that this is something that you wouldn't actually mind spending your money on, that's for sure, because this car is a looker, especially from the rear. A big 10 on 10 on that. 10 extra marks if you guess where the rear wiper of this car is. The rear wiper is actually tucked neatly inside, and trust me, these small things, these premium things make the car very, very appealing as an overall proposition. This is something that's going to be loved by people, and this is the first time that I've seen something like this, genuinely. So this is the rear skid plates, which has parking sensors engraved on it nicely. This is Tucson badge, which is good. And then there is this, the reverse camera of this car, the clarity of which is actually good. And then there's the shark fin antenna, which is kind of hidden there on top. Let's check out the electric boot release of this car, but there's something that I want to point out and exclusively tell you about it. Khulja Sim Sim. But wait a second, what if you are way too tall or if you are way too short? Then in that case you actually have an option to increase or decrease the height of the electric boot release. And not just that, even the speed at which the electric boot releases opens and close can be adjusted with 1, 2, 3 settings. That is how incredible Hyundai is in terms of offering features on their cars. Talking about the boot space of this car, the boot space is insane. The boot space is massive. As you can see, my hand is going all the way there. You can stuff in a lot of things. There's 539 liters of boot space in this car, which means that your weekend getaways, long weekend Independence Day getaways are not going to be a problem at all. But what's more interesting is there's a 12-volt charging socket here, there's a sub there. But in case you don't want others to see what you're stuffed inside the car, then this sheet here actually helps in that. Neat. I've seen so many cars where you actually have to struggle properly to fold the rear seats of them, but Hyundai knows the magic trick. Swing and then neat again. That was to check the door third of the all-new Tucson, and it's not very disappointing either, but I think the door takes some considerable effort to be shut. Check this out. Okay, not bad. So moving on to the main seat of this car, which is my favorite place to be in, and this looks like this is a car from 2025 at least, not exaggerating, because everything is so nice and premium, so damn nice, you know. There's so many things that I can go on and on, but for starters, this is a 10-way adjustable electric seat and this is an 8-way adjustable electric seat. I think the passenger does not want 2 extra adjustment for some XYZ reason, not sure why is that. And then this is the ventilated seats, this is the heated seats for both driver and co-passenger. That is very nice. I've seen so many manufacturers skipping on ventilated seats for the passenger. शायद उनको लगता है कि मतलब इस बंदे को ठंडी सीट्स नहीं चाहिए, but Hyundai decided that no more discrimination, दोनों को मिलेगा जो भी मिलेगा. And then this is the gear lever, which is very nice and the grip feels solid, super duper solid. No fancy stuff like the aircraft inspired, jet inspired and all, but yes, overall looks very good and nice. Overall it looks very good and nice. And then there are a couple of USB charging sockets here. I'm not sure why I cannot see a type C charges, because type C is the new thing. So you know, I think Hyundai should have plugged in a couple of type C chargers सामने और पीछे. That would have been very, very helpful, but that's not the case. And these squarish cup holders are triggering my OCD already. I prefer cup holders which are round in shape. And then there are this drive terrain modes, which I'll talk about later during the course of the drive. But for starters, this is the steering wheel, which is very good and nice to hold. And I think a bit of extra different design for the Tucson would have been appreciated. It just feels like it could have been slightly more thicker for this car at least. And then you see the small buttons here. This is Hyundai for you. They didn't want this big seat buttons for memory seats. सबको चिल्ला चिल्ला के बोल रहे कि मेरे पास memory seats है. No, they decided to take it very subtle. Set 1 and 2, which means you can set the memory of this car, the memory seats of this car to 2 functions, and big round of applause for their actually tucking in very nicely here. And then this is the 8-speaker Bose music system, which we are going to test very shortly. But before that, I want to talk about the seating positions comfort. First things first, you will have to raise the seat to its max position if you want to have proper visibility of the bonnet of this car. And still, I'll give it a benefit of doubt because I still feel that the position could have been slightly taller. And then it's only when you set it up completely to the highest position, you can see the full bonnet, where you're sitting like the king of the road, and you can see other cars like this, something like the Scorpio N. And then there are tons of buttons on the steering wheel. The quality of stacks look decent enough, but the quality of stacks could be slightly better. As you can see, there's so much of play here. इतना ज़्यादा play नहीं होना चाहिए था. And then these are the buttons, which feel kind of good enough, but again could have been slightly better considering that everything else in this car is so damn premium. Another very important thing and very unique feature. I don't know who in Hyundai actually thought of this feature. The AC vents of this car are everywhere. Yeah, you heard that right. You can see the AC vents from here all the way here all the way here, which is aircraft inspired. मतलब plane में ऐसे होते हैं, it seems. You know, there are no AC vents as such, so that's why it feels like, you know, the vents are everywhere in this car. AC vents, very cool. So this is the 10.25-inch touchscreen infotainment system here, and Hyundai has decided that, you know, they'll club both the screens together to make the entire place look very nice and premium at the same time. Won't get too much into detail here, but for starters, you do get navigation, you get media connectivity, blue link connectivity, voice commands, and whatnot. So there's something called as valet mode, where the features can be restricted to a certain extent, and then there is this blue link with which you can get access to a lot of information. For example, the weather, the sports scores, and there's something called as vehicle diagnostics, which is disabled right now here. But you get the point. You can actually change a lot of things in this car. For example, go to the settings and then go to the vehicle, and you can actually see that, you know, you can check out the instrument cluster. You can change the instrument cluster design, you can change the climate settings, and of course there is something called as the seats and light option. I'll just show this door part to you. You can actually check and adjust the speed and sensitivity of the tailgates opening and closing here. That is that good. And of course, this is the driver assistant system, the ADAS systems here, where you can actually enable or disable them from the screen directly here, which is going to be very helpful. And then there is this seat, and there's something called a seat position change alert, which means that if somebody has changed the seat's position, you'll actually get an alert here. That is so damn nice and cool. There's 64 ambient lighting in this car, not 1 or 2, but 64 ambient lighting, making the car look very nice and appealing. And there's complete climate control settings here, dual zone climate control. You can actually change the temperature, do plus, minus, and a lot more things here from the climate control. This is touchscreen enabled. The touch response is actually genuinely good. And there's some buttons here with direct access to SOS, which means an emergency situation, which you can access from the tap of this button here. Can you listen to that sound that's coming inside this car? That is the inbuilt nature sound that this car has. Very nice, interesting. The Tucson also gets an electric parking brake with a 360-degree camera here, which can be directly accessed like this. Pretty interesting, and you can actually zoom in and zoom out. The range also gives us an opportunity to check out the wiper of the Tucson, and let's check out how do they fare. One swipe, two swipes, and I think the glass is very clean. So finally driving the all-new Hyundai Tucson. This is the diesel variant, which pumps out 186 bhp and 416 freaking Newton meters of torque. So talking about the driving dynamics of the car, first things first, this is an electric power steering, and there are 7 different driving modes. 4 from the drive, that is Eco, Normal, Sport, and something called a Smart. Okay, even drive modes are getting smarter now. And then you have the terrain modes, which are snow, mud and sand. Basically based on the different driving modes, the steering response varies, and Eco has one of the lightest steering, and Sport the steering weighs up, which is kind of a nicer thing. But otherwise the steering doesn't weigh up a lot in the Eco mode. Talking about the acceleration is one of the finest that I've seen in a very long time in a Hyundai car, because I always felt that Hyundai cars, they deserve more power, be it in terms of the petrol engines or the diesel engines. Their cars deserve more power for sure. I think that's where the Tucson comes into picture, to fill that gap of premiumness plus having a robust engine gearbox combination. Talking about the gearbox, this is an 8-speed automatic in the diesel variant, and the petrol gets a 6-speed automatic transmission. So talking about the 8-speed transmission, it's actually quite good, but there is a small probability that you might notice the gear shifts, and that's actually quite less. I mean, it's quite lesser evident that the car is actually changing gears. Otherwise it's smooth most of the time, especially in the lower gears, say 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. You wouldn't get to know that the car is changing gears. It's just in the higher gears, for some reason, that you might feel that the car is changing gears. But apart from that, the gearbox is top notch. But talking about the braking, this is the department where I have thoda sa concern, because the braking isn't the best of the best that we have seen in a longest time. For example, if you look at the C5 Aircross, that has one of the most phenomenal braking there. But if you have such expectations, then you would be slightly disappointed, because the braking isn't the best of the best. And that's what we have seen in cars like i20 as well. I really wish that Hyundai had focused slightly more in the braking department, because this car has all the other check boxes. It can tick all the other check boxes to be the car that India has been long craving. A car which is premium, a car which drives really well, and a car which is not a Fortuner. That's because I think it's high time that Fortuner actually gets a lot of features that it's missing from a very long time. So this was a speed breaker, and you could actually feel the third entering inside the cabin. That's all right, but how does a ride and handling have to offer in this car? We'll talk about it shortly. If you're after something to run around in the town, the Hyundai Tucson ticks all the boxes. It's reasonably easy to maneuver, and visibility is excellent both out of the front and back. It's honestly unbelievably easy for the undiscounted proportions. Its suspension is set on slightly firm side though, so you're likely to feel crashes and bumps more often, just like every other Hyundai out there. The suspension smoothens out at decent speeds, hence the highway travel will not be as uncomfortable as they might seem to be initially, especially in the lower end of the speeding spectrum. But if there's something that truly deserves an applause, hands down, is the sport mode of this car, which makes a world of difference, especially with the steering feedback. It changes the ballgame altogether. Thanks to the monocoque chassis, the body roll is damn well controlled and doesn't make you feel nervous, no matter how aggressive the corners are. This is something that's going to be a big trump card for the Korean car maker in terms of the Tucson's offering. But the USP of the all-new Tucson has to be the advanced driver assisted system, which aids the car with its stellar functioning. The ADAS is primarily spread across 3 core areas, namely driving safety functions, driving convenience functions, and parking safety functions. Here's a sneak peek into them.
Keep Assist uses the front camera to detect lane drift and provides audio-visual warnings followed by steering correction to keep the vehicle in line and avoid accidents. Forward Collision Avoidance Assist with junction turning detects any oncoming vehicle while turning right and assists by automatically braking at the right time. Blind spot collision avoidance helps to mitigate a chance of collision with vehicles in rear blind spot when changing lanes by giving a warning and then by braking. Driver attention warning will detect and alert you if your attention is low while driving and suggests to take a break. If there is a vehicle approaching from the rear side when the doors are opened, the all-new Hyundai Tucson detects this and sends a warning message and sounds off an alarm. Rear Cross Traffic Collision Avoidance Assist warns you if vehicles are crossing by while you're reversing. If you miss the warning, it also automatically applies the brakes to avoid collision. Smart Cruise Control adjusts not only speed but also forward distance. So when the car in front stops and goes in 3 seconds, your car also stops and goes ahead. Lane Following Assist function helps you easily drive in the center of your lane. High Beam Assist detects light from oncoming vehicles and automatically dips between low and high beam, enabling you to focus on the road. Lead Vehicle Departure feature alerts you when the vehicle ahead starts moving if you do not react quickly enough.
So this sun is the ray of our new hope, because it's been very cloudy all day with rains and whatnot, but we still had hope that it would be sunlight in the evening. You see, just like this, the all-new Tucson is the ray of hope in the premium SUV segment in India, in a country which is just talking about cars like Fortuner, which are ridiculously overpriced. This is here to give a new breather of life. Hyundai has got it spot on in terms of many things that the consumers want. Features, name it, and you have it from a segment above and whatnot. The car is very well controlled in higher speeds on curves, which means the body roll is very contained, and of course it has got all the grunt to do some serious mile munching, and this could be your next choice of adventure. But that said, if you are looking for a car which is massive, which is proportionate, and which can probably seat 7 instead of 5-seater, which is here, then of course you would have to go the old school way and head on to the Toyota showroom. But if you're looking for a car which is a chota pataka, which is everything that you can aspire for in a 5-seater form in this premium SUV space, I don't think nothing else is going to come even remotely close. Forget close, nothing else is going to come even remotely close to the all-new Tucson. And that's about it. We wish Hyundai loads of success with this new mantra, because this car is not just important for Hyundai alone, but this could redefine the premium SUV space in India. That's about it, guys. If you guys like the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram, because that's where most of the action happens every single day. Stay tuned and drive safe.